Paro, and asked him and actually told him and say, hey, listen, I need you to send my people away. And, they was going back and forth. And he told him before it even went down, he instructed him that if you don't let my people, well, they say go, but if you don't send my people away, if you don't send my people away, and my son, I'm going to kill your firstborn son. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out your firstborn. I'm going to kill him. Okay. Cause you got my firstborn. So, and that's what it was. So it wasn't a threat. It was literally a promise. And Yah knew that the children of Israel thank you. Yeah, Gil, I am a recording. Yes. Thank you so much, Aki. Elohim knew that the Pharaoh wasn't going to let the children of Israel go. He knew that. And he told Moshe that,
Yes.
And he let him know that, hey, you know what? I'm doing this because I've been thinking about my people. I've been understanding what what they're going through. And I want to share with you today, and I don't believe this message is going to be long today, because this is a festival, and I want everyone to be able to celebrate this time that you have with the Creator. Again, we're not a religion, and that's something a lot of us have a hard time understanding, is that we've been trained to think that, if we do this, this, and this, and that, then we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Just as long as you meet these requirements, you're going to be fine. And they're missing the essence of everything in which why the Creator has done what he's done for his children or his people. Yah knows that the children of Israel are a rebellious people, a very rebellious people, a very stiff-necked people, a people that are very set and bent on doing things their way. And he knew this prior to them coming out of the land of Mitzrayim, coming out of their slavery and their oppression. But I want to take the time right quick to share with you some additional information about this in particular festival and why it's come about. Okay. We can find in our, let's see here. We'll find in our studies. I want to go to chapter number, this Deuteronomy, what is this? That's 12. 77, 78. Let's start right here. Before I read the words of the living Elohim, may we continue to bless his name and give him praise. Yahweh, we thank you today. I say Todah Rabah Yahweh for Yom Hazeh of HaShabbat. Todah Rabah Yahweh for the Matzot, which is to say, thank you, Yahweh, for you this Shabbat day, and thank you for this celebration, this Chag, this gathering of your people together to commemorate and to memorialize what you've done for us by bringing us out of a land of cruelty and a land of harshness and a land of bitterness and utter oppression. We thank you today for that. We thank you for your Torah. We thank you for your judgments. And more than anything, Yahweh, we thank you for your mercy and your grace and your compassion that you've had on the generations that has preceded the individuals that we're talking about today. We are those children from that land, Yahweh. We are the children of those who've experienced a great deal of setback and a great deal of difficulty in their life. And so, Yahweh, we thank you today that you've allowed us to come to understand who we are and come to understand or coming to understand who you are. We thank you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. The book of Exodus is the opening of this, this situation with our people, right? I want to read just briefly to you some things about how it came about so you can understand the context. It says, now Moshe was tending the sheep of Yithro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, leading the flock to the far side of the desert. Okay, he came to the mountain of Elohim, to Korev, and Korev is Mount Sinai. Okay, so Moshe going to Mount Sinai, this is his first encounter with the Creator at the very place that Yah wanted him to bring the children of Israel. So if you can look at the context here, he's actually tending sheep. He's leading these sheep. He's leading a flock. Okay, so the Malach of Yahweh appeared to him in a fire blazing from the middle of a bush. He looked and he saw that although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not being burned up. There's a lot of question about, is this Malach Yahweh himself, or is this one of Yahweh's Malachs? Well, the Psalms tells us that Yahweh's Malachs are like a flame of fire. They're ministers, right? So he has Malachs that come in fire. He has Malachs that are in charge of the air. He got Malachs that are in charge of the thunder. He got all these different messengers and Kavarim and different creatures that are under his rule and his authority. And so he sends them to wherever he wants them to go. So Yahweh is not a Malach. Yahweh is not a Malach. Yahweh is not a messenger, because that's what a Malach is. Okay. Verse 3, Moshe said, I'm going to go over and see this amazing sight and find. Remember, our word for this week was matzah. Okay. So he's going to go to find and search out why this bush isn't being burned up. That's a great question. And it's one of amazement, and one that you and I could start thinking about. Okay. When Yahweh saw that he had gone over to see, Yahweh Elohim called to him from the middle of the bush. He said, Moshe, Moshe. And he answered, Hinene, meaning here I am. I'm here. He said, don't come any closer. Take the sandals off your feet, because the place where you're standing is holy ground. I am the Elohim of your father. And he continued, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at Elohim. Okay. Meaning where this voice was coming from, to look at this fire. So he hid his face. And Yahweh said, I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt. I've heard their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. I want to speak to you today in regards to this in particular verse. That Yahweh says, I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Mitzrayim, and I've heard their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. Yah understands what we're going through. He understands the ins and outs of our lives. He understands what our situation is. He understands that even in the midst of what we're going through, we are not able to keep the festival the way that he has designed it. And this has been a lot of contention in the circles of his people. I would like to say that over the last few days, I've been seeing on Facebook that some people celebrated Pesach last week. Some people celebrated Pesach on Wednesdays. Some people celebrated Pesach on Thursday. Some people celebrated yesterday. Some people are celebrating today, and some people are celebrating next week. And the reason why this is happening is because there is a disruption in terms of continuity within our community. Okay. There's a breach in our community. And a lot of people are judging others about, when they should do it and how they should do it and all these sorts of things. And the Creator is, I wouldn't say that he's not concerned, but I would say that he completely understands what you and I are trying to attempt to do. Okay. So I want you to kind of understand and take this today in this short lesson, that I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Mitzrayim, and I've heard their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. Yah has sight. Yah's not a human being. So you said, well, how can he have sight? Well, he designed the eye. Yah has eyes. He can see. That's the one who put the eyes in our heads, or the one who designed it. Yah hears, even though he doesn't have a human ear. Yah designed the, you would say, the technology for you to be able to hear through the little hairs in your ear, the vibrations of the air that tickles little hairs, that sends different signals to the brain to be just the little hairs in your ear are sending the words that I'm saying over the airwaves. You hear it, and it tickles something in different parts of your ear, and then those messages are being taken over the waves and then hits your eardrum, and then all of a sudden it bounces off, and then the message is sent to the brain, and you can understand what I'm saying. You can understand the tone that I'm using. You can understand the frequency, how fast or how slow I'm saying it. So how powerful are our words? If our Elohim sees, you don't think he understands our lives? You don't think he understands what we're going through? You don't think he knows about our pain? He does. But also, too, you and I have to come to understand what this is all about. I told you earlier this week that I was going to express to you what this whole thing is about. Okay. This whole entire endeavor that you and I have set out to do is about being brought back to Yahweh, to be brought back to him, to acknowledge his power and to acknowledge his strength and to acknowledge what Yah has done for our ancestors and what he intends on doing for us. Every single one of Yah's festivals points to something that he's done, and he wants the recognition for it. By you participating in it, it allows you to understand who he is. Okay. You said, well, he didn't deliver me from Mitzrayim. He hasn't delivered me from none of the oppression that I'm going through right now. So why should I remember this? Why should I continue to serve him? Why should I take that lamb and put it on the fire? Why should we, celebrate and decorate our tables? And why should we prepare our meals for the Shabbat? And why should I go through my house and take out all the saor, the things that cause, the yeast and the things that cause things to rise? Why should I take out the bread out of my home? Why should I do these things? I've never had an experience. What you're doing is you're being a witness to what Yah has done. You're actually believing and trusting what has been written about the Creator through our family. Now, everyone is going to do what they want to do. Okay. And let me show you something. Yah knows us very well. He says this in Deuteronomy chapter number 12. And you can write this down. He says this. Verse number 8. You will not do things the way we do them here today, where everyone does whatever in his own opinion seems right. Everybody's doing what they believe and what seems right to them. Everyone's keeping the Pesach the way that they believe that it's supposed to be. But if you look at verse 9, he says, because since you haven't yet arrived at the rest and the inheritance which Yahweh, your Elohim, is giving you. That's why people are doing what they're doing. It's because you and I haven't arrived at that place of rest and inheritance. We haven't arrived to the promise that Yah has made to us. And it gets a little frustrating because we're sitting here and we're waiting. We're literally waiting for Yah to deliver us. Last night we observed this, what they call Kok, this decree, this gathering of us to join us together, which they would define as a law. And we were waiting, as Yah said, for the deliverance. Yah did not deliver the children of Israel on the night of Pesach. Deliverance and salvation is different. Okay. What Yah did is he redeemed Israel from death. Okay. Salvation of Israel didn't happen until the 17th day, where they were fully delivered from their enemies. Somebody tell me and take a guess where their actual salvation happened. Where did it happen? Where did their salvation happen?
Well, the salvation of, I mean, I guess if there was a salvation, it would have happened in the Lamb, but did the salvation of our nation even happen yet?
Well, what I'm speaking of is when Yah took the children of Israel, when he led them out of Mitzrayim, okay,
Yes.
they were still being chased.
Right.
And when they came to the sea of Suf, which is the Red Sea, they were trapped.
Right.
Yah opened the Red Sea and made it open for them so they could be delivered from their enemies. You understand? So salvation for Israel, okay, is to be delivered from your enemies. Your enemies will be destroyed. Okay. So whenever he does this, he gets rid of your enemies. That's what he does. That's true salvation and being brought to the land of rest. You can't have any rest. Okay. There is no rest. And there is no inheritance outside of the land of Israel. This is the reason why Moshe had said to them, you will not do things the way that you do them here today, where everyone does whatever is in his own opinion it seems right. This should actually be a relief for us to make us understand. And it's very humbling because no matter what I say or no matter what I'm doing, in my opinion, in my own opinion, it seems right. You see, the way that we dress, you know, it might seem right. It might be completely wrong. Yes, Azania, go ahead.
Okay, so question real quick. So do you think the disorder from us, everyone doing different Shabbats, different Passovers, I mean, just the general disorder, is it completely from the rest or also from the fact that the priesthood has been dissolved?
Well, that's a good question. Are you finished with it or I cut
Yes,
you off?
I am. Yes, I was like, yeah. Yeah.
I think there's so much disorder and there's so much contention is because we've been, number one, we're not in our land. There is no guidance. There is no guidance from, you know, a for sure 100% positive authority. Like, you know, often we like to take the position of authority and say, well, you know, I'm the husband or I'm the father and this, you know, and that I'm the authority. And it's true, you are. But when you're in a place of wickedness, there is no, okay, the community is fragmented. And I'm just going to, we need to talk. Okay. We need not to be religious. We need to really talk about this. And I want everyone to give some input. Okay. When you're in a land of wickedness, and there's all these different influences and everything you touch is unclean, and the people they have different motives and intentions. Even people who believe that they're doing the right thing are wrong. There's a level of holiness that we are looking for that can't be found here. Okay. You can have the best intentions. You can expect the best. You can hope for the best. But when Yah is not in our presence, and we're not living among his presence, you're living a bunch of dogs. Okay. And you're trying to make everything work in the midst of this. Okay. And it becomes very frustrating and very difficult because there's so much going on. We don't have leaders, you know. The leaders of our people were the Leviim and the Kohanim. When there was a situation and a problem, they wouldn't sit there and they say, if you can't resolve this problem among yourselves, you would take it to the Kohanim. And then whatever judgment it was, if you try to go outside of that judgment, then you would be, put to death because you didn't listen to the word of Yah. So there is a conduit between us and the Creator, and it's not there right now. It's not. It's not existing. I got on a lot of people a few weeks ago talking about they're claiming to be Kohanim, and they're not. They're not. They have no registry, none, no proof, no evidence of no way the Yah is dealing with them. We have no temple. We have no Mishkan. We have no sacrifices. We have no offerings besides one of thanksgiving, besides one of a broken heart and a contrite spirit. We have nothing to offer except for ourselves. Okay. So in the midst of offering ourselves, you can't go look for something to bring to Yah. This is the reason why he took the offerings away from us, is because we were using the offerings, right, not to learn from, but to use as an excuse. See, it's kind of easy to bring a lamb, right? When like, okay, I messed up. You just got to work hard and go get another lamb and bring that, and just kind of it's in and out thing. Okay, and this is what Israel was doing. Yah says, listen, I'm more interested in who you are, right? And I want you to look into the depths of who you really are. Because right now we're doing what seems right to us. Our communities are broken. Our homes are broken. It is. My home is broken. I'm just telling you. I sit here, I teach the Torah. My home is broken. It is. And the reason why it's broken is not because I don't think anyone is deliberately doing it, including myself. I think it's just because of where we are and what we've been trained and what we're in. We don't know what true kadoshness is. We don't know what true holiness is. We don't have any leaders who can step up and say, no, this is what Yahweh says. And if you're a voice by yourself and you're saying these things, then it's kind of hard. You're not going to be able to achieve that. That's why our family members are not listening. They don't have because judgment is not expedient. That's why people keep doing what they're doing. That's what it is. So we're kind of when Yah says that I need you to grieve and to be loathsome and your detestable practices and look at yourself, the reason why we're in exile is so we can have a picture of ourselves. I want you to keep Pesach and I want you to keep Matzah as a reminder to you for what I've done for you and what I plan on and intending to do for you. The reason why things are not working is because our ancestors, which Yah says that they've gone against me. And as a result of your ancestors and their ancestors and their ancestors, and it falls upon you. And then all of a sudden now you're trying to tell everybody what to do and nobody's listening to you. Do you guys really understand that it's literally thousands, not just 400 years of disobedience? There's thousands of years of Israel going against the Creator. And you and I are going to fix it in 6 months. It's not going to happen. We're doing what seems right in our own opinion because we haven't yet arrived at the rest and inheritance which Yahweh is giving us. This whole thing is about Yah giving us an inheritance. And ultimately, it's the land, but the land is attached to him. It's his land. He's given us what he's designed to be the most beautiful of all lands that he said in Ezekiel chapter number 20. And you and I are not going to go to that land. And I'm going to be clear today. We're not going to that land if you and I have decided that we're not going to do what he says. You and I are not, nobody will enter that land. Okay? They're not going to enter the land. And I can show that to you. Okay? But God wants us to understand something here today. Okay? Understand this, that there are things that you and I must do. Okay? To prove to him that we're willing to go into the land. Our ancestors didn't enter the land because of what? Their downright rebellion. They didn't want to do what he says. In the book of Joshua, it says this. It's a little background, a little context. It says, when all the kings of the land of Imri on the west side of the Jordan And all the kings of Canaani near the sea heard what Yahweh had dried up the Jordan River ahead of the people of Israel until they had crossed it. Their hearts failed them, and they fell into depression because of the people of Israel. Okay. It was at that time, okay, or at that time that Yahweh said to Yehoshua, make yourself knives of flint and circumcise the people of Israel again, a second time. Okay. And Yehoshua made himself knives of flint and circumcised the people, meaning the sons of Israel, at Gavath Ha-Adraloth, meaning the hill of foreskins. Okay. The reason Yehoshua circumcised was that all the people who had left Mitzrayim, who were males, all the fighting men, had died in the desert along the way after leaving Mitzrayim. They died in the desert because they refused to do what Yahweh said. That's why. They didn't enter into the land because they refused to do what he said. So he killed off all the men, the fighting men who were over that age. Okay. And listen, for although all the people who left Mitzrayim had been circumcised, all those who had been born in the desert on the way as they went on from Mitzrayim had not been circumcised. Okay. So listen to this. This is another example of what, before you go into the land, people were doing what they wanted to do. When they were in the land in the desert, they did not keep the Pesach. They never kept the Pesach. Okay? Because you're not allowed to keep the Pesach if you're not circumcised. You understand? This is what it is. For although the people who left Egypt had been circumcised, all those who had been born in the desert on the way as they went from Mizraim had not been circumcised, because the people of Israel walked 40 years in the desert until the whole nation, that is the fighting men who had left, had died out because they had not heeded what Yahweh said. We need to understand something. These people were in the desert, okay? They weren't in their inheritance. Yah put them in the desert and left them there for that time to test them, to find out whether or not they would do what he said. And those who would not do what he said and didn't heed what he said, Yahweh has sworn that he would not allow them to see the land which Yahweh swore to their ancestors, that he would give us a land flowing with milk and honey. That is a promise. So when we read this text, we need to understand that Yah's telling us this narration to get us in line so we can understand what his expectations are. You really believe that you and I can do what we want to do and not turn and listen to what he's saying, and we're going to be able to go to the land? You're not going to the land. You and I will not enter the land of Israel if a few things, okay? Number one, you got to be circumcised as a male. You got to be circumcised. That's in Isaiah chapter number 56 all day long. Not one person that's not circumcised will ever enter the land of Israel again. Ever. So what is he telling you? It's going to be his way. Nobody that is rebelling against Yahweh will ever enter the land of Israel. And what's rebellion? Rebellion is to have a sense of bitterness about what Yahweh says. A bitterness, saying like, well, I'll do it, but, I really don't want to do it, and you're going through the motions. You're not going to the land of Israel. You're not going in there. That's what he said, because Yah doesn't play favorites. Remember, the whole purpose of Yahweh bringing Israel out of their land that they were in, or the Mizraim, was to deliver them so they can come and worship him. This is what he told Pharaoh. Send my people away so they can come out and sacrifice to me, so they can worship to me, because I want them to hold a feast. That's what he says. Okay. But let me continue. So verse 7, he raised up their children, Yahweh raised up the children of the rebels, okay, and to take their place. And it was these whom Yahushua was circumcised. Till then, they had been uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised while traveling. Because they didn't have enough time, because when they were in the wilderness, they were traveling all the time. Yah was moving them from one place to the next, the whole 40 years. They weren't just staying in one place in 40 years. They were going all over the place. Okay. And when all the nation had been circumcised, every one of them, they stayed where they were in the camp until they were healed. Okay. Yahweh said to Yehoshua, today I have rolled off the stigma of Mitzrayim. What? He's using circumcision to cut off that old way of life of the stigma of Mitzrayim. I need to get that stigma off of you about where you came from, because you can't come into the land that I'm bringing you to with that same stigma. You can't come in with, you being a certain way. That's not going to happen. This is why the place has been called Gilgal, okay? Because Gilgal means to roll away. Ever since the people of Israel camped at Gilgal, and they observed Pesach on the 14th day of the month. Okay. This is after they just came out of the wilderness. That's where they observed Pesach. Okay. They didn't observe it while they're in the wilderness. They observed it when they came out of the wilderness. And on the 14th day, the very day that Yah specified it, and they're on the plains of Yeriko. The day after Pesach, so now you can make the connection, they had to be circumcised in order to be able to participate in the Pesach. That is a requirement. The day after Pesach, they ate what the land produced. Now we're getting into the day after Pesach. For our observation that we're doing today, we're observing the day of Matzah, because yesterday or last night, we kept the day of Pesach. Okay. And so did everyone else. I'm going to congratulate everyone. I'm live right now. Congratulations to all of us. Even if you did it last week, and if you do it next week, I don't care. That's my opinion. As long as you celebrate and you honor Yahweh, right? Do your thing. That's what it is. We don't have the right to judge people for the way that they're doing it, the way that they're doing it. We don't have that right. Okay. It's not our place, because they're not our people, they're his. So he said that they kept the Passover. It's the day after, which is today, they ate what the land produced. So now this is going to tell us about what is it in the land that they ate. They ate matzah and roasted ears of grain on that day. So grain within itself is not unleavened. It's not leavened. Barley is not leavened. It's with the agent of Seor that you put into it that makes it leavened. Okay. So you can have roasted ears of grain. You can have grain. You can eat whatever the land produced. Okay. That's what's going to be on your diet. You're going to have a great week this week. We're supposed to eat unleavened bread, okay, matzah, for 7 days. And it started last night, and it's going to be from last night, okay, all the way from 7 days. And so until the 21st from yesterday, which is 7 days, we will land on the 21st of this month. At the evening, that's when you are no longer required to not eat the matzah. If you like to, you can continue. If you just like, hey, I like my life. I have more energy. I wasn't as sluggish. I lost, a few pounds. So things are good. Okay. We talked earlier this week about what matzah is, and we talked about Seor and all those things. If you weren't on the lesson, you could go look it up. I have it. I recorded it. So it's a good lesson to look at. The following day, okay, after they had eaten the food produced in the land, the man ended. So here in the text, it talks about the man. It's really, he didn't really give this a good, someone who doesn't know Hebrew would never know that this is really the manna, okay, what they call it, man, okay. It ended. So Pesach is on the 14th day. The matzah is on the 15th day, okay. The following day is on the 16th day, okay, right? Then from then on, the people of Israel, right, And when I talk about the people of Israel, I want you to understand this includes the strangers and the foreigners who participated in the community. They were circumcised. Okay. No longer had any manna. Nobody had even, y'all stopped feeding them from the heavens, and he began to feed them from the earth. That year, they ate the produce of the land of Canaan in that year. Okay. So let me show you something which is very significant. Okay. Very significant. Hopefully it'll stick with you. Oh, what happened? Hit the wrong button. Hopefully this will stick with you. What day is on the Pesach? We're a class. What day is the Pesach?
14th day.
14th. What day is matzah?
15th.
15th. It was the following day, which is the 16th. Okay. One day, which is the 17th. Now I was talking about the 17th. When Yehoshua was there by the Jericho, meaning this river, okay, he raised his eyes and he looked. In front of him stood a man with his drawn sword in his hand, okay? And Yehoshua went out over to meet him and asked him, who? This man. Are you on our side or on the side of our enemies? Right? On this has happened on the 17th. Okay. Okay.
That's Moses' right arm man,
See.
Joshua.
Yes. So listen
But
carefully.
there's no J, so it's Yehoshua.
Put your device on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no worries. So one day, which is the 17th, Yehoshua was there by the Jericho, and he raised his eyes and he looked, and in front of him stood a man with his drawn sword in his hand. Yehoshua went out over to and asked him, are you on our side or the side of our enemies? Because he had a sword in his hand. He said, no. He replied, but I am the commander of Yahweh's army. Okay. I have come just now. Yehoshua fell down with his face to the ground and worshiped him. Okay. And then asked, what does my master, okay, my Lord, my master, have to say to his servant? The commander of Yahweh's army, okay, answered Yehoshua, take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you're standing is Kadosh. Okay. You say, well, why are you mentioning this? Because I want you to understand that the children of Israel, when they left Egypt, right, they left on what day? What day? Did they leave on the 14th or did they leave on the 15th?
14.
They left on the 15th. The 14th is the Passover, where he passed over and tell them, don't you come out your house until the following morning. Okay. Boom. That started the day. That's the 15th. Okay. That day they left. On the 15th, they left. Okay. They left and then they went on their journey. The 16th, they were still out there. The 17th, Pharaoh's army was chasing them. And that's when they came to the Sea of Suf, the Red Sea. Okay. And then he divided and Yah saved them on the 17th. Okay. Here we're talking about 40 years later. And they're celebrating the Pesach on the 14th day. On the 15th, they have matzah. And on the 16th, they just going about doing their thing. And on the 17th, the commander of Yahweh's army shows up. And Yehoshua asked him, are you here for us or for our enemies? On the 17th of Aviv. Okay. You hear what I'm saying? I'm not a predictor of times, but I'm just giving you some clues. Okay. Who wants to take a guess and tell me what day did Yah appear to the children of Israel? On what in particular day? Was it a 14th, 15th, 16th, or the 17th? Yah appeared on the 17th to his people at Mount Sinai on the 3rd month after they left Mizraim. You understand? So this 17th day is pretty significant. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay. Because you and I are waiting. Are you not? You're waiting. You're waiting for Yahweh to do something. You're not, listen, you're not, we're not seeking Yahweh just to say that we wear a beard or we wear some tzitzits. We're not doing that. We're not seeking Yahweh just so we can say, well, I roasted the lamb with fire. We're not for those reasons. We're not. We're seeking Yahweh for a reason and for a purpose. And the purpose is to be delivered. That's what Yah wants us to understand about this festival. It's a festival that Yah has delivered the children of Israel. His purpose of taking them out was to come and worship him. That is his purpose for taking you and I out of this place. So you and I have to prepare ourselves. That's why he asked you to get rid of the leaven. The so'or. The so'or is that which is hidden. And that which is hidden is really what they would call the idolatry that's stuck in you and the rebellion. The rebellion comes from this idea that you don't have to do what Yahweh says because he's not going to judge you. Yah is going to judge his people. Listen to what Asaph, which is one of the Kohanim, wants to let you know who this is. He's one of the Leviim, okay? He's not a Kohanim, excuse me. He's one of the Leviim. And David appointed the Leviim to stand before him and to write songs and to write music and to write poems. So a majority of the psalms that you hear are written by the Leviim. That's their job. Okay. They were appointed by David. Some people say, well, what gave David the right to do this? Obviously, he had a relationship with the Creator and he was moved to do so. And that's all we know. Okay. But listen what it says. It says that in verse number 2, on the day of my distress, I am seeking the Master of Masters. My hands are lifted up and my tears flow all night without ceasing, and my heart refuses comfort. When remembering Elohim, I moaned. When I ponder, my spirit fails. And then that's this word Selah. Selah means to intensify the sound of the instrument that they're using, or to intensify the speech in which he's saying, lift it up to even go to a higher level. Okay. So when you and I are coming before the Creator, and we're reaching out to him because of the distresses that we're in, I don't ever want you to refuse to lift your hands up. You know, I was faced with that. I'm going through some things and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm not worthy of Yah. And I think about that. I'm like, well, I'm just a human being. You know, who am I? And Yah is like, lift up your hands. No matter what your situation is, lift your hands up to Yahweh. Yah sees what's going on. He understands our discomfort. You know, he understands when we cry, he takes our tears and he puts them in a bottle. That's what he says. But we have to remember who he is. And this is what's going to cause this moaning and this pondering, is when you really meditate on who he is. He said, you hold my eyelids and you keep me from sleeping. I am too troubled to speak. I think about the days of old and the years long ago. And in the night, I remember my song and I commune with myself and my spirit inquires. And these are the things that we're supposed to be asking Yah. They got here Adonai, which is the Master of Masters. Will our Master reject forever? I know this is a question I ask. Will the Master reject? Will he never show his favor again? Has his grace permanently disappeared? Is his word to all generations done away? Right? Is what they would call the testimonies that you and I are following, are they done away with? Because obviously you and I have been waiting for some time now. Has Elohim forgotten to be compassionate, which is an attribute of his character? Has he forgotten about us? Does he not know? Has he not seen? Has he not heard what we're going through? Has he, in his anger, withheld his mercy? Is he not going to live up to his name? Because the compassion and the mercy is all part of his name. That's in Exodus chapter 34, verse 6. Those are the attributes of who he is. He says, I'm compassionate. I'm slow to anger. I'm full of grace and I'm merciful, right? In truth. He says, then I add, this is what Elohim is saying, that my weakness, that's my weakness. My weakness is that I'm losing faith in Yah. My weakness is I'm questioning whether or not Yah understands my situation. My weakness is because I don't see what Yah's doing and I don't understand it. I've been waiting and waiting, and I'm still in anticipation. I'm eager and I'm yearning for him. Then I begin to lose faith and I begin to fall off and I begin to question whether or not this is all worth it. That's our weakness. The Most High's right hand could change. That's a weakness for us to think that his hand would change. Yah is never going to change. He will always do what he says he's going to do. So I will remind myself of Yah's doings. This is one of the reasons why you're keeping this festival, is to remind you of what he's done. So the focus, like I said earlier this week, was talking about Yah has developed this for us, okay? To remind us about what he's done for us and what his plans are and what he is going to do. I will remember the wonders of old. I will remember. So now he's taken on a different mindset, which is, this is what we all have to do. We're going to have to snap out of it. We're going to have to, instead of saying, you know, what if and all this kind of stuff, we have to go back to what I will do. Okay. What you and I need to do is remind ourselves of Yah's doing. What you and I need to do is remember the wonders of old that we've been told. You and I need to meditate on Yahweh's work and think about what he's done. Elohim, your way is holiness. Kadosh, that's his way. That's his way. That's what it's always going to be. It's never going to be anything other than that. Do you guys realize that this week right here is a way of holiness? Do you realize and do you recognize that this festival that we have for 7 days is a festival of 7 days of holiness? In the Hebrew, he calls it a mikra. Okay. M-I-Q-R-A. Okay. A mikra, which in Hebrew is an M and a here, mi, and then kra. Okay. So let me break this word down for us right quick. Okay. It's a compound word. Meh in Hebrew means who. Okay. Meh, that's a question. Okay. The kara, okay, means to call out or to proclaim. So when Yah says that I'm asking you guys to do a holy convocation, that's what you'll see in English. It says convocation, C-O-N-V-O-cation. Convocation, or what they would call a meeting, or what they would call a gathering. Okay. I'll put gathering. Gathering. That's what a holy convocation is. What you and I are doing right now, even though we're not in each other's presence in a sense, like we're not body to body, we are what you're calling a mikra right now. Even though this is a Shabbat, which is again a holy convocation. Anything that's holy requires us to understand that there's no work to be done. Okay. There's no work to be done on anything that Yah says that is holy. He doesn't want us to put any labor on it. Somebody tell me why. Tell me why Yah wants us not to put any work if you can. Why does he want us not to do any work on a mikra, on a Shabbat, or any other Shabbaton, any other time of no work to be done? It's very simple. Go ahead. Huh?
Like you're saying, he wasn't finished with his work.
Saying he wasn't finished with his work, but also too, Yered, it says that when Yah brought us out, he brought us out from a place where you and I were working and being oppressed. So what Yah has done is he's delivered us from our work, our malaka. And what he's trying to show us is that in any holy setting, in any time where there is no work, it is holy. And it's reflective of the work that he did. Listen, the world will force you and I to do work even on the Shabbat, to break Yah's command, right? And when they tell us to work on that day, they're telling us that he doesn't exist. That's what they're saying, because there's work to be done. Could you imagine the whole world? Everyone says we're not working on this day. Everybody's at rest. What would the world be like? What would everything be like if the whole entire world says today is the Shabbat and we're not working and we're going to honor the Creator and what He did? What would that be like? You see, it'll be completely different. The mindsets will be changed. So a mikra is a holy convocation, is a time of who is going to call out and proclaim. The people here today that are on class, you guys are part of this mikra. And what you're proclaiming is holiness. What you're proclaiming is that Yah has done wonders. And what you're proclaiming is that what Yah is going to do. See, the question that this Levaim had, okay, and remember, a Levaim is somebody who does what? What does a Levaim do? What does their name mean?
Join.
Join. So remember, Azania had asked a question why everyone is so fragmented. It's because you and I don't have a priest and we don't have a family Levi to join us back to Yah, to teach us what we should be thinking about and teach us what we should be doing. They're the ones who are supposed to bring us the reminders. We got to remind ourselves. We have to meditate on what Yah has done. We have to remember this. If you don't, then you're not proclaiming what He said. And if you don't acknowledge that the way that He wants us to live is one of holiness. And whatever Yah, our Elohim, has done, and who is there in Elohim as great as ours? See, it's always about acknowledging who He is. So yeah, even though we might not have a Lavaim with us, it doesn't mean that you and I can't read what the Lavaim have written and told us what we should be doing. Okay? And then he says this, with your arm you redeemed your people, the descendants of Yaakov and Yosef. Okay, then he goes on to talk about some other things of what happened. All right. Let me conclude our lesson by going to this one place. And it's pretty long, but I think you need to listen. You need to hear it. And I'm going to try to just kind of go through it quickly. This again is a maskil of Asaph. He is again one of the Lavaim. A maskil comes from this word called sakal. Okay. Sakal means to bring to one's attention. Okay. What they would call to be prudent, or one who would seek to be wise and understanding. In order to be wise, in order to be prudent, in order to do this, you have to pay attention. So this is the reason why this Lavaim has decided to write this in particular song. Okay. He says this, and it's a teaching, it's an instruction teaching of this in particular Lavaim. What he wants us to do is to listen, my people, to my teaching, because that's exactly what it is. And I need you to turn your ears to the words of my mouth. Okay. I'm speaking these things. I will speak to you in parables. Okay. So when you say, well, you know, Christ of the New Testament, he said that he's going to talk, he talks to the people in parables, and this was the way for him to disguise, right, and explain mysteries to the disciples. And he didn't come to tell anybody else what these parables meant except for his disciples. He didn't care if the other people knew it or not. He only wanted the people that he wanted to know, right? Because that's what he said in those writings, that he only spoke in parables to them, so he would hide their understanding. Okay. But this is what we're going to get. If we were going to listen to it, we need to understand the teachings that this in particular priest or this Lavaim is going to give. He says, the things in which you have heard and known, which our fathers told us. This is what I'm about to tell you. Okay. So he's given us insight about what was said. And guess what he said? This is why you should not listen to the New Testament. He said, we will not hide from their descendants. I'm not going to hide this from your descendants, okay? Because if I hide this from you, if I don't tell you what these things mean, then you're never going to understand. I got to tell you what this is, okay? And this is the problem that we're having with the generation that we live in, because everyone's hiding information, and they're not telling this generation to come. They're not telling them what it is about Yahweh. One of the things that we're not going to hide is what Yah has done for his people. We're going to make sure we tell people about the praises of Yahweh, and we need to remind them about his strength and the wonders which he has performed. That's what it is. Are you not doing that today? You see why this feast is here? Because in this feast, you're going to tell the people, or tell your sons and tell your daughters about what Yahweh has done. That's what all he wants us to do, is to proclaim and become a mikra and tell people. And the question is who will tell? At any time in the New Testament, did Yeshua ever tell anybody to keep this feast?
No.
Never mentioned it, did he? Did he ever call a holy convocation with all of his disciples and tell them that this is going to be a cult forever? This is a what they would call a decree. This is written down for eternity. Did he ever tell anybody that? No. Did any of his disciples ever tell anybody that? Did Peter and James and John and Paul, did any of them ever tell everybody that this is what they need to do? No, they never did. So he's also letting us know in this text that, look, he's raised up a testimony. What is that testimony that he raised up? Somebody tell me. Get involved. What is the testimony that he raised up in Yaakov and established the Torah in Israel? What's his testimony? The 10 words. When did he give us the 10 words? On what mountain?
On Mount Sinai.
On Mount Sinai. This is the same place that he met with Moshe and told him to go lead my people to this flock. Okay. And he commanded our ancestors to make this known to their children. Because if they don't let them know, if you don't let the children know, because it's a command. Telling the Pesach and the matzah is a command. And that's what he gave to our ancestors, to make it known to their children. The reason why our children are the way that they are is because someone has not made known to them. They haven't been known to them. It wasn't known to us. Several years ago, I didn't know. My father did not tell me about the testimony that was made in Yaakov. And he did not tell me that there was a Torah in Israel. And he did not tell me that it was commanded to him to make it known to me. So that the purpose of all this, remember, this is his teaching, so that the next generation would know it. Key is that he keeps talking about making something known. Okay? Because we're not going to hide it from their descendants. The children not yet born. So if you don't tell your kids and you don't make it known to their children, your children, then they're not going to tell it to their children. They're not going to proclaim this. They're not going to become a mikra. They're not going to be the one who's going to call out on this day and say that Yahweh has delivered the children of Israel. He brought us out. We left. Okay. Who would themselves arise and tell their own children? You see? So this is really about making it known. This is really about telling it. That's what this festival is about. Who could then put their confidence in Elohim? For those of you who have children, like myself, this is the reason why you should let your children know. Because if you don't let your children know, they won't put their confidence in Elohim. They're going to forget Elohim's deeds. That's what they're going to forget if you don't tell them what it is. And also, too, if you don't tell them what it is, right? Then they're going to forget. And once they forget Elohim's deeds, there's no reason for them to obey his commandments. The commandment is to make it known to your children. See, and they're supposed to make it known to their children. Then they will not be, because Yah's intention is for us not to be like our ancestors. And here it is. He's going to tell you what your ancestors is like. They will not be like their ancestors, a stubborn, rebellious generation, a generation with an unprepared hearts, with spirits unfaithful to Elohim. Why? Because they weren't keeping the commandments. Why? Because they're stubborn. They're bent on doing what they want to do. They're rebellious because they're not talking about what Yah has done. They don't fear Yahweh. The people of Ephraim, though they were armed with bows and arrows, they turned their backs on the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of their Elohim. They did not keep it. He's telling about our ancestors. They didn't keep this, which is the 10 words, and refused to live by his Torah. We got to make this known to the next generation. They what? They forgot what he had done, his wonders in which he had shown them. It's always about making sure that you don't forget. It's all in the book of Deuteronomy. Don't forget when you go into the land. Don't forget your Elohim. Don't forget what he's done. I need you to do this perpetually over and over and over again. That's why I celebrate and I congratulate everyone who made an effort to keep the Pesach, who made an effort to keep the matzah. Yeah, you might have messed up and to do it exactly the way that it's supposed to be done, but you put forth an effort. And you need to be congratulated on that. But that same effort that you made to do that, you need to make the same effort in making this known, because it is a command. What did Yah do? He has done wonderful things in the presence of our ancestors in the land of Egypt. What wonderful things did he do? Somebody tell me some of the wonderful things that he did that we just forget about. What did Yah do? Where's some of the things that Yah did?
He opened up the Red Sea for them to go through.
Yes. And how, like I did a study on it before, those walls that he made of water were over 10,000 feet high. They did not walk across water like Yeshua. They went down into the sea bed. They walked on the seabed. You understand? That water was at least 10,000 feet deep. So there were walls of water. That is a wonder. And he's never done it for any other people on the face of this earth but you and I. He split the sea and made them pass through, and he made the water stand up like a wall. When has he done that for anybody else? His way is holy. He also led them by day with a cloud and all night with a light from a fire. You know, I wasn't going to talk about this, but in Deuteronomy, and I'm going to go there right quick, and I want to bring this out. In Deuteronomy chapter number, I think it's 6, is this 4 and 6? That's Joshua. Let's just go right here. I want to read this little part to you. Is it here? Exodus. Deuteronomy? Yeah. All right. So just a little sidebar. You guys follow me. When I'm reading Hebrew, I'm reading from right to left. I don't want to rush this, but I want to bring something to our attention. I'm reading this way, okay? Just follow me. He says, Shamar et the Kodesh, the Ha-Aviv, and the way Asata, et the Pesach, the La Yahweh, the Eloheinu, the Ki, et the Bakodosh. Meaning, observe the month of Aviv, okay? That's what I need you to do. I need you to guard. Observe means guard. Shamor, guard. I need you to continually guard it forever. Infinitive. Always to do this on this month, which is the month of Aviv. And you shall do. And that means keep to do what? I need you to do the Passover. To who? La Yahweh. To Yahweh. Eloheinu. For Ki, the Bakadosh, meaning this in particular month of Aviv. Put this down right here. Minimize this. Hotzithika. I brought you out. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So when it talks about Aviv on this in particular month, I need you to guard this and I need you to do this on this month, which is the month that we're in right now. Because Hotzithika, I brought you out perfectly. Yahweh, your Eloheka, okay? From Mitzrayim, I brought you out of the Mitzrayim. That's what I brought you out from, okay? Listen to this. What? Belila, okay? Meaning I begin the process by killing the firstborn. Therefore, you shall what? Wazavakta. I need you to sacrifice the Pesach. And he says, to la Yahweh, the Eloheka, a zone, meaning a flock or a herd, in the place, in the Bamakoma share to the Yifkar, in the place that I chose, right? Yahweh says this, and the way Shekani shall put the name of Yahweh, which you and I know that we're not in that place, or the Sham, okay? 3, you shall not eat any of it with leavened bread, with the kamats. We talked about that. For the Shivat the Yamim, for 7 days, the Tokal, the Allah, you shall, for 7 days, you shall eat with it. Unleavened bread, the matzot. Unleavened bread is called matzot. Okay. And he calls this matzot, this bread, the lakem. But what he calls this bread is pretty interesting. He calls this bread of matzot, he calls it the bread of affliction. That's what he calls his bread. The bread of matzot is a bread of affliction. And I thought about it. I said, well, what? I thought it was the bread of going in and looking and searching. And I thought it was, the humility and all these different types of things, which it does have some bearing on that. But I looked at this word affliction. Okay. And I said, well, what is the Hebraic understanding of this word? So we're going to go look at that right quick. I want to give that to you, because this is what Yahweh calls the bread that you and I are eating for 7 days, a bread of affliction. Let me get out of here right quick. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Okay. So right here, let me see. Stop the share and then come back and share it again. If you get a Hebrew understanding of what Yah is talking about, he says this bread that you and I are going to eat is called the bread of affliction. Okay. The bread of affliction is something that has to do with someone watching. Okay. The word for affliction is called ani. Okay. Ani. And ani, and we're going to get to that, but I wanted to tell you what the root is. The root of this word is the action is to watch, because it has to do with your eye. That's what you do with your eye, and that's what it is. Concrete meaning is eye. So the word ain, okay, the root of it is called ain, and it means your eye. Okay, that's the concrete meaning. Okay, and ayin, or it means eye as well. Okay, or anayim means 2 eyes. But the abstract on this is this idea of affliction. So the picture graph, which has to do with your eye, is a picture of an eye. And then the next letter, which they will call a nun, is a picture of a seed. So this little nun right here, it looks like a sperm cell, okay, or a sprout, is a seed, and it representing continuance. Okay, so that's when you see that letter N, you should know, oh, that's continuance, so it has to do with a seed. So when you look at both of these, it means the eye continues. It's an eye of continuance. So the nomadic agriculturalist carefully watches over his livestock, his crops, by keeping a close eye on them. Okay, that's what he does. He keeps a close eye on his livestock. He keeps a close eye on his crops. He keeps a close eye on them. It was common to construct a shelter consisting of a roof on 4 posts and as a shelter from the glare of the sun and so forth. So he would make this thing in order for him to sit there. Okay. What's the connection? The connection is this. Affliction has to do with depression, right? So often this word on has to do with, again, you know how when you get upset and you squeeze your eyes together and you get this furrow at the top of your eyebrows when you're mad or you're concerned, that's called a furrow. Okay. And they have these furrows inland as well. Okay. But a furrow is formed between the eyes when intently looking for or from a depression, when you're upset, or when you're just constantly trying to find something. A cloud as a covering that provides shade. So it's like Yah's telling us that this in particular bread that you have, that I want you to eat this bread of affliction for 7 days, is a time of you. I need some intentness. I need you to be very intent. Okay. And I need you to be watching over, right? I need you for the next 7 days. I need you to watch. Remember, he told us if anybody eats any leaven during this time for the 7 days, that person's going to be cut off from Israel. That's what he says. So during this week, he's telling you and I that I want you to be very watchful. Be watchful about what you're eating. Constantly have this on your mind, kind of like a cloud in the sky. Okay. And also, too, Yah wants us to know that I've been watching you. That's the reason why, okay? I've been watching you. The word for anon, or the word for cloud, is called anon. Excuse me for doing this. Anon. And it means to watch. A-N-A-N. Anon. I've been watching you. When I had you in the wilderness for 40 years, I was watching you. That's why I had a cloud over you, to watch you. You and I can look at a cloud, as it states here. You and I can watch and tell the weather by watching a cloud and see, well, all those clouds are going to tell us that it's going to rain, right? Or those clouds are going to tell us it's going to be very hot. Or if there's no clouds, well, this is going to be a very, very hot day today, right? It's going to be a very bright day. But also, too, it has this idea to afflict. So what is the point? Or what is Yah trying to share with us? He's trying to let us know that when I said that you're going to eat this bread of affliction, okay, I want you to know this bread of ani, okay, or oni, that I've been watching you this whole time. I've had my eye on you, like an agricultural will be watching his crops, or someone who's been watching his field, or someone who's been watching his animals. I've been watching you the whole time, and I'm watching you today. I haven't forgotten about what you're suffering. I haven't forgotten about your oppression. Just like we read in Exodus chapter number 3, the Yah told Moshe that I need you to lead my people out like a flock. I've been watching you. I've been watching them. I've been watching their suffering. And that's what I'm letting you know, that I've been watching you. Okay. So it says that in 14, going back to this, he's letting us know that, listen, I led you by a cloud, anon, because I've had my eye on you all during the day and all during the night. He broke apart the rocks in the desert. He let them drink from his boundless depths. Look at everything that he's done. This is what he's trying to tell us, that we need to remind our generations and the children coming after us. Yes, he brought streams from the rock, making water flow like rivers. Yet they sinned. They still sinned. Still more against him, rebelling in the wilderness against the Most High. This is what they've done. Remember, he's telling us so we won't be like our ancestors. This is the teaching. The teaching is he doesn't want us to be like them anymore. He doesn't want us to continue to sin against Yah, and he doesn't want us to continue to rebel against Yahweh. This is the reason why he wrote it. He's also telling us in their hearts they tested Elohim by demanding food that would satisfy their own cravings. Yah's saying that, you guys, what you want to do? You have agreed for what you want and not what I want to give you, because you don't like what I'm giving you. Do you remember when he gave them the manna, they complained and said, what is this? Okay. Yes, they spoke against Elohim, asking him, can Elohim spread a table in the desert? Why? Why did they say that? It's because, remember, Yah told them that he wanted them to come out of the Egypt and have a festival to him. That's in Genesis chapter number 10, verse number 9. His whole intent was for them to come out and have a feast in the desert. And so they were mocking him and saying, well, what can he do? Can he spread a table out in the wilderness? What can he do? He gave us water, but what else can he do? Okay, true. He said he struck the rock. This is what they said. True, he struck the rock and water gushed out. Yeah, that's not a big deal until the valleys overflow. But what about bread? Can he give that too? Can he provide meat? You hear these people? Therefore, when Yahweh heard it, he was angry. Fire blazed up against Yaakov. His anger mounted against Israel. Yah gets angry when we mock him. Yah gets angry when we're not satisfied. Yah gets angry because they didn't have any faith in him. They didn't believe him. They didn't trust him. There was no trust in his power whatsoever to save them, even though he brought them out through killing their enemies and everything. Even though he killed the firstborn, that wasn't enough. Even though he did the 10 plagues, that wasn't enough. Even everything after all the death and destruction that they saw and him destroying a whole complete nation, that wasn't enough. So he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven, and he rained down manna for them. And he gave them his food, and he gave them the grain from heaven. Grain from heaven? Yes, that's what manna is. He says, mortals ate the bread of Malachim. Chapter number 78, verse 25. So the manna is something that Malachim eat. Okay, so if you say that Christ says that I'm the bread of life, did the angels eat him too? See, you got a problem. Okay. He provided for them in full. Yah didn't scarcely give them anything. He gave it to the full. He put something in their stomach. Yes, he tested them and made them go hungry so they would cry out to him. But they've never been in complete cooperation with Yah. What else did he do? He stirred up the east wind in heaven and brought on the south wind by his power, and he rained down meat on them like dust, birds flying thick as the sand on the seashore. He brought the food to them. That's the kind of Elohim he is. He let them fall, the birds, in the middle of their camp and all around their tents. That wasn't the first time. So they ate until they were satisfied, and then he gave them what they've craved. They were still fulfilling their craving. The food was still in their mouths when the anger of Elohim rose up against them and slaughtered their strongest men. He slaughtered them, laying low the young men of Israel. Still, they kept on what? They kept on sinning. This is our teaching today. They did not put their trust. They did not put their surety in his wonders. Okay? You and I have not seen any wonders of going through the Red Sea and being fed manna. But what we have seen is Yah talking to us and regathering us and preparing our hearts and giving us his name. Therefore, he has ended their days in futility and their years in terror. This is what a person who keeps on sinning is what you're going to get. You're going to get your days ended in futility, meaning there's not going to be any use of nothing you've done in the years that you spend your life. Like these people who kept on sinning, those people's life meant absolutely nothing. They were just there to die. And when he brought death among them, they would seek him. They would repent and they would seek Elohim eagerly. Because it's apparent that the only way that Israel fully understands anything that the Creator is saying is when he brings something terrible. Okay? Remembering that Elohim was their rock, Elyon, their redeemer, but they tried to deceive him. Again, people like to do this. This is a teaching that Asaph is giving to us. He says, I'm telling you to make this known to you, that even if you try to deceive Yahweh with your words, they lie to him with their tongues. This is what they tried to do to the living Elohim. For their hearts were not right with him, and they were unfaithful to his covenant, unfaithful to Yah. That's what it is. And yet he, because of his full of compassion, he's full of compassion, he forgave their sin. And he did not destroy. Many times he turned away from his anger, didn't rouse all of his wrath. So he remembered that they were but what? Their flesh. Okay? This word right here, remember, is a car. It's a car. Word for flesh is basar. So you can remember Zakar basar. He remembers that their flesh, a wind that blows past and does not return. That's what Yah knows about us. That's all we are. You're nothing but flesh. You're nothing but afar. Basar is really broken down to afar, and afar means dust. Oh, sorry for doing that. The Hebrew name for dust, D-U-S-T, is afar. I spelled it wrong. A-P-H-A-R. The word for flesh right here is basar. The word for remember is zakar. So zakar, basar, afar. How often? You look at the key. They rebelled against him. Where? In the desert, and grieved him in the wastelands. This wasn't an easy thing, you guys. That's the bottom line that we're getting here. This whole thing is about it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy for Israel. But just as it hasn't not been easy for Israel, it hasn't been easy for Yahweh. Yah's grieved with Israel. He's grieved by our behavior. He's grieved by our actions. He's grieved by the things that were hiding from him. He's grieved that you and I don't want to fully encapsulate with righteousness and holiness is. And I talk about I'm talking about the nation, not us individually. I'm telling us, all of us, that Yah has a problem with us. He has a great problem with us. He doesn't like what we're doing. And this has been the idea behind delivering us, is to bring us out of this place. Do you know all the sourness and the attitudes that we have has been because of the place that we've been? If we think that we haven't been unscathed or we've been untouched by where we're at, we're deceived. We're deceived. You know, we've turned against Yahweh. We've rebelled against Yahweh. We've tested him. They refused in 56 to obey his instructions. They turned away and they were faithless like their fathers. They were unreliable. You see this? That's what it is. You know, you can test Yahweh, you can rebel against him, you can refuse to obey, you can turn away, you could be faithless, okay? You could be unreliable and like a bow without tension. You don't have no use whatsoever. You could provoke him. You made him jealous. With what? With your idols. Seems like he's asking a lot. It seems like we've been doing a lot of things to him, hasn't he, as a people. And here's the sad part. Elohim heard and he was angry. He came to detest Israel completely. Yeah. This word here means hate or loathe. This is how Yah felt about his people. And that's because Yah gets angry. Because Yah's seeing what we're doing and he's not happy. It made him so angry that he decided that I'm going to abandon my own house and my tent where I lived. Your wife can make you so angry that you feel like abandoning your home and your tent. Your children are so disrespectful, it makes you feel that maybe I should just leave. I need to leave this place because I'm living among a people who make me angry and I end up hating them because they won't follow what I said. It made Yah so angry that he sent his strength. That's what you and I are on the land in this earth into exile. And he took his pride, the pride of the joy of his people, and he put us under the power of our enemies. He gave his people over to the sword and grew angry with his own heritage. Fire consumed their young men, and their virgins had no wedding song. Their Kohanim fell by the sword, and their widows could not weep. Everybody was being put to death. Why? Why is it happening? You think Yah brought us out of Mizraim to not be a holy and a special people to him? Do you really believe that you're on this journey just so you can learn how to do a couple of different things? Or do you think it's him trying to work with us to turn us back to him so he doesn't loathe us anymore and he doesn't hate us anymore? You see, people don't understand that. They think that this is a game. This is not a game. This is not a game whatsoever. That's how angry he was, that's what he did. I'm going to share one other verse with you, and then I'm going to let you go. I want to give you some sense of comfort today, because it is a festival. The comfort is this. Where we are. Ezekiel. I think I'm going to go to Jeremiah. And I'm going to go to chapter number 16. Let's look right. Yeah, here it is. The question is this. When you tell, verse number 10, chapter number 16, when you tell this people all that I have said, they'll ask you, why has Yahweh decreed all this terrible disaster against us? What is our iniquity? What is our sin that we committed against Yahweh, our Elohim? Then you are to say to them, listen carefully, it is because your ancestors abandoned me, says Yahweh, and went after other gods, serving and worshiping them, but abandoned me and did not keep my Torah. That happened for multiple reasons. My estimation of this happening was because, according to the teaching of Asaph, the Levian, he has said that I need to tell you what Yah has done, and I need to make it clear and known to the generations to come. And what they've done is, one of the greatest things that they've ever done is they forgot to tell their children. They forgot to memorialize Yahweh. They forgot. And the proof of this is found in the book, and I don't have time to go to it today. It's found in the book of Ezra, and I believe in the book of Nehemiah, one of those two, that it says that they have not kept the Pesach until the time of when, I think it's either one of those two books, but there was hundreds of years when they didn't keep the Pesach. So if they didn't keep the Pesach, they didn't keep matzah. They didn't keep the Pesach, and they didn't keep the matzah. They didn't keep the 7 days. They didn't do anything. They're not trying to remember anything that Yah has done. And they didn't teach their children. And as a result of you not teaching your children, okay, or you think you're teaching your children, a lot of times we try to make sure that we don't hurt anybody's feelings. But we need to tell the truth. The truth is that if you forget what Yah has said and you abandon him, because this is what the crime is, the iniquity and the sin that we have done is against Yahweh. It is that we have forgotten Yahweh, and they've abandoned him, and they went after other gods, and then they also did not keep my Torah. Everything that our lives consist of has to do with the Torah of Yahweh. I'm not going to apologize for that, Israel. The Torah is perfect. You and I are not. And the Torah is supposed to bring us to a point of being made right in Yahweh's eyes, because it helps, it restores the soul. That's what it says in Psalms 19. He says, but you have done worse than your ancestors. For look, even each of you lives according to the stubbornness of his own evil heart, so that you won't listen to me. Okay. So what we find here is that Yah is concerned with the house of Israel because they have done this. They've abandoned him, and they did not keep my Torah. Okay. And keeping Torah doesn't mean just talking about Torah. Let me be clear on that. Keeping Torah is not talking about Torah. Keeping Torah is not talking about Torah. Keeping Torah is doing what the Torah says. From the top all the way down to the bottom. Okay, you have done worse. For look, each of you lives according to the stubbornness of his own evil heart. These are tough words. These are words that nobody wants to hear. That you and I are stubborn, that you and I have an evil heart. Who wants to hear that? So that you don't listen to me. You're not listening to me, because you're not keeping my Torah. Listening to me means that you keep what I said. Therefore, I'm thrusting you out of this land into a land that you have not known, neither you nor your ancestors, and there you will serve gods, other gods, day and night. For I will show you no favor. So the group of people that got mad at me because I told you, then when Yah scatters us, that there is no favor from Yah when you're scattered from him. These are his words. Therefore, says Yahweh, the day will come when people will no longer swear as Yahweh lives, who brought out the people of Israel from the land of Mitzrayim. That's not going to be a conversation no more. That was the conversation for that time. But now we're in a different conversation. Our conversation is going to be this. This should be comforting. But as Yahweh lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land to the north and out of all the countries where he drove them. For I will bring them back to their own land, which I gave to their ancestors. That's your comfort. That's your comfort. Understand that Yah promises to bring us back, and it won't be, well, Yahweh brought them out of Egypt. It's not going to be that anymore. It's not going to be that anymore. It's going to be Yahweh brought them out from the north, and he brought them from all the countries that he scattered them. And you are the ones who are scattered. That's supposed to be comforting, but we have to do something, okay? We have to turn back to Yahweh wholeheartedly. Final point. Thus, that's what Yahweh says in 21 of chapter number 39 of the book of Ezekiel. Write it down, 39:21. Thus I will display my glory among the nations, so that all the nations will see my judgment. That's with their eyes when I execute it in my hand, when I lay it on them, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay my hands on your enemies, Israel, on the nations. They're going to see my glory because I'm going to display it. I'm going to make it known to them. Okay. From that day on, the house of Israel will know that I am Yahweh, their Elohim. I'm going to show you that I'm your Elohim. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it in the eyes of the nations. Why the Goyim will know that the house of Israel went into exile because of their guilt. That's why you're here. And because they broke faith with me. Okay. They weren't faithful to me. So that I hid my face from them and handed them over to their adversaries, and they fell by the sword, all of them. Yes, I treated them as what? We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. I treated them as their uncleanness and crimes deserved. And I hid my face from them. Again, to the people who want to say that he's with you as a nation, he's not. He's hidden his face from us. And the only way he's going to reveal his face to us and shine his face upon us is when he comes and displays his glory in front of the presence of the people that he's going to destroy, which are the Goyim, the nations. Therefore, the Master Yahweh says this, now I will restore the fortunes of Yaakov and have compassion on the entire house of Israel, not what you would call the Jews. That's not the entire house of Israel. So those who are saying, oh, that's the land of Israel, and he's showing bad, those are his people. No, they're not. No. You can read this right here and tell you that I'm going to have compassion on the entire house. The whole entire house of Israel consists of 12 tribes. I will be jealous for my holy name. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to cause me to restore the fortunes of Yaakov. And when he says Yaakov, he's talking about the one he turned around and called the name Israel, that it was divided into 12 different sons. Okay? But he's not finished. So all of those who thought that your sins are forgiven and you're a Christian and you would like to believe that, why are they still bearing their shame and all of their guilt from breaking faith with me? Why is that? Why does he say you're going to feel bad and feel shameful for the things that you've done? You should. Once they're living securely in their land with no one to make them afraid. Yeah, that's where you're going to be. This will be after. This is not before. This is after. Key word, after I brought them, Hotzitika, like I told you, I brought you out of Mizraim. And I'm telling you right now, after I brought them back from the Goyim, the peoples, and gathered them from out of their enemies' lands, thereby being consecrated through them. That's how you're going to get your kadoshness. Through them in the sight, in the eyes. Everyone's going to see it of the many nations. There are some nations that won't see it, though. According to the book of Isaiah, chapter number 66, there are some nations who will not be able to see this time, but he says in the sight of many nations. So there's going to be some nations that are going to see, and there's other nations who are going to hear about what Yahweh has done. Okay. Then listen to this, then they, will know that I'm Yahweh, their Elohim. When are they going to know it? When are they going to know this? They're going to know it after I finish doing what I said I was going to do. Then they will know that I'm Yahweh. Since it was I who caused them to go into exile among the nations, and it was I who regathered them to their own land. I will leave none of them there anymore, and I will no longer hide my face from them. See, you got to go back home so he can reveal his face to you. For I have poured out my spirit on the house of Israel. When I regathered them back to their land. That's what all this is about. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank you for sharing your moment of your celebration with me today through the Chag Matzah, okay, which is the festival of Matzah, of time of celebration. And I know it's difficult because a lot of us don't know how to celebrate this because we're just strangers in this land and we don't know. All we have is what we're being taught. And all of us are doing what seems right in our own eyes. And we have the appearance of doing that, but Yah looks at the man's heart. And he looks at a woman's heart. And he looks at the intention of the heart. He's looking for sincerity. And I know often I say things that are very, very troubling. And it can scare people. You know, some it could scare to the point of them saying, hey, I don't want to mess up. And there's other who hear these words and don't have a care about it. It's just who it is and what it is. Okay. But each of us have to be responsible for ourselves. So on this day and for the next 7 days, Yah wants us to anah. He wants us to literally be watchful. Affliction also, I forgot to mention, brings humility. It really does. It brings humility. If one is afflicted in their body, that's how they learn how to be humble. Yah did this through Eov. He used him as an example of what happens to a person that's afflicted. They're supposed to grow humble, and they're supposed to grow to know who Yahweh is. That's the whole purpose of being humbled. You're going to have a lot of trouble, and some of us are in some trouble now, but your trouble will be over soon. I would like to encourage you to let you know that all we got to do is continue to wait for Yahweh. You got to continue to wait for him. You have to be patient, and you got to stop looking for perfection in people. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, we're looking for the community to come together and all of us to be a certain way. And why are these people doing this? And you got the camps out there, and these people got on purple, and these people got on gold, and these people got on red. Guess what? Who cares? Who cares? Because they have to answer for themselves. And you and I have to answer for ourselves. You know, but we're doing the best that we can. That's the point. While you're in exile, do the best that you can. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Contributions, statements, any words of encouragement?
I have a question. I know you said that observing Pesach and Matzah is a reminder, to serve as a reminder of what Yah has done for us. Are all of the feast days that have that purpose?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that point out. They all do. When you think about Sukkot is supposed to remind you that we lived in tents. Yah tells us this, I think, in Deuteronomy chapter number 16. So the two places that you can read today, when you have time, read Leviticus chapter number 23. It tells you about the feast. And you read Deuteronomy chapter number 16, and it tells you about those feasts. And it lets you know that, you know, this is something that's going to be forever. So if they're ad olam forever, that means that when you and I die, they're still going to be talked about. They're still going to be observed. And because Yah's looking for witnesses on the earth. And so each one of those is reflective of what he's done for us. So that's how I came to this knowledge and understanding about the Torah, is when I discovered that, wait a minute, he keeps saying the same thing over and over again. I'm the one who brought you out of the land of Mizraim. I'm the one who brought you out of the land of Mizraim. I'm the one who delivered you from slavery. I need you to remember the Shabbat because I'm the one who brought you out. And then he says, these are holy convocations. So it's moments in time that Yah has decided for us to memorialize and to remember. And he says, I need you to teach this to the next generation that comes after you. Tell it to your son. He's going to ask you, what are you doing? Why are you doing this service? Why they call it a avodah? Why are you doing this avoda? I'm doing this avoda because Yah has delivered us. Yah wants the focus to be on what he did. That's the whole point. Even in chapter number 77 and 78 of Asaf's Maskil, of his teaching, he was telling us, look what everything that Yah has done. Why is this still being repeated? Why is this repeated in Psalms 104 and 105 and 106? Why does he keep telling us what he did and how he opened up the sea and why, and they ate matzah and they ate manna? Why does he keep telling these things? Why is it mentioned in Ezekiel chapter number 44, 45, 46, and 47 that I'm going to, reinstate Pesach and all that? Why is it mentioned in Zechariah chapter number 14, the last chapter, that, hey, they're going to keep anyone who doesn't come to Sukkot, I'm going to hit them with a plague? Why is it mentioned in Isaiah 66 of the Shabbat and Rosh Kodesh? Yah's reminding the children of Israel, Nehemiah reminding them, we broke your Shabbats. We broke we didn't keep the festivals. They reinstated the festival back in Nehemiah and Ezra's day. They haven't kept Sukkot from hundreds of years. One of the kings who found out that I think his name is Yoshiyahu, he found one of the scrolls, or one of the people found the scroll in the temple and brought it to him. He began to cry and say, oh my goodness, we're dead. We haven't done anything that he said. We haven't kept none of the Moedims. We haven't done nothing. So Israel has failed as a nation. We as a people, we have failed. Our ancestors, he said, they ask you, why is this happening? Why did this happen to us? Why is this cruel way of life happen to us? It's because we forgot. And, we're just trying to put the pieces up together. But I'll be honest with you. Every Moedim, an appointed time, is a reminder of what Yah has done and what he's going to do. That's the reason why he's mentioned it. Remember, he says it's not going to be any more talking about as Yahweh liveth, who brought the children of Israel out of Mizraim, but as Yahweh liveth, who brought out them from the north and from all the countries. So he's letting us know that there's coming another day that I'm going to do the same thing. But I don't have to kill the firstborn, because I've already done that. I've already redeemed Israel by killing the firstborn of man and animal. Now what I'm going to do is I've spread you guys out to all these different nations because I am angry with them, and I'm going to show them who I am. And I'm going to show you who I am by what I do to them in their very eyes. So you're going to find out who I am, and so are they. And so there won't be any more who's Yahweh. You're going to find out who I am from the least to the greatest. Everybody's going to know who I am based on what I'm going to do. And I've used you, and I've used your rebellion. I've used your arrogance. I've used your stubbornness. I've used all these bad things about you to bring about the glory to myself. Yes, I'm going to still kill a great number of my people and put them down, and they won't enter the land of Israel. But I'm still going to be glorified in those who have put their trust in me, and those who have decided while they're in the land of the exile that I'm going to do what he says. I'm not going to talk about the Torah. I'm going to be about the Torah. A lot of people do nothing but talk. They have all the right things to say, and that's it. They might show up to a Bible study and, I'm good. I'm at a study. I'm going to be spared. No. Yah searches the heart. Just like he told you to search for that matzah. Yah saying, I look at the deep part of a man. I'm looking to see if anybody really is sincere. You can't fool Yah. Like I say, we don't think that he hears. He hears every word that we says. But even if we spoke something that we had false, remember it said that we just saw in 78, it said they even tried to lie. Could you imagine trying to lie to the creator of the heavens and the earth and thought that you were going to get away with it? That's how crazy our people are. They think they can say stuff, and here's what they said. Everything that you said, we'll do. That's exactly what they said. They made terms of the agreement, and he says, I'm going to make you keep that agreement. You're going to keep what you said. If you told me you're going to do something, you're going to do what you said you were going to do, because I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. And if you don't keep that end of the deal, you're dead. You'll never be remembered. That's just what it is. Our creator is not a joke. He's not a man. He's not any other God. He's the rock of Israel. He's the creator of the heavens and the earth, and he's not going to bend for us. He's not. And that's something that we just are having a hard time understanding. We can't push him to some other place. He's not going to do it. He's not going to sit back and watch you and I destroy ourselves. He's not going to allow you and I to worship other gods. He's not going to allow you and I to give any kind of homage to another God. He's not going to allow us to call in the names of other gods. He's not going to allow that to happen. He says, you guys are doing what you want to do right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. Go ahead, Israel. Keep doing what you're doing. But you will not enter the land of Israel. You will not enter the land of Israel. Because Yah has sanctified the land of Israel by removing all the people from it because they defiled it. It's his land. That's what it is. It's his land. He warns us and says, you keep doing what you do. And I want to show you who's who. Okay. And it's not a threat. It's a promise. Look what he says. In verse number 32 of chapter number 20 of Ezekiel, he says, and what you have in mind, this is what you're thinking. When you say, this is what you're saying. You're saying, this is what you and I and our and everyone been saying. We will be like the Goyim. We're going to be like all the families, all the other countries. We're tired of being a Kadosh. We want to serve wood and stone like everyone else. He said, will certainly not happen. Well, I just thought that you read that he said, I've sent you where to serve wood and stone. He's saying, yeah, I did that. But ultimately, this is not going to be the case. As I live, because I never die, the master of masters, Yahweh, I swear, just like I swore to raise my hand to make you my people, I swore to bring you out. I swore these things. I swear that surely with the mighty hand and the stretched out arm and poured out fury, I myself will be king over you. There will not be anyone else who will be your king. Oh, I'm the king of the universe. I will bring you out. This is what I swear. I will bring you out from these people, this uncleanness. And I'm going to gather you, like I told you, okay, from the peoples in all the countries where you were scattered. That's what I'm going to do for you. I swear it. And with the mighty hand and the stretched arm and poured out fury, I will bring you into the desert of the peoples, and I will judge you face to face. You understand? Me and you are going to have a conversation about why you couldn't do what I said. Yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be fair because you said I wasn't fair in chapter number 18. I'm going to show you how fair I am. I judged your ancestors in the desert. That's why I'm bringing you into the desert. I brought them in the land of the desert of it's Mitzrayim. So will I judge you, individual. I will, I swear. I will make you pass. You're going to go whether you want to go or not. You're going under the crook of my staff. And I will bring you into the obligations of the covenant. Even though you don't want to do it. I swear it. In context, I swear to you that I will rid you of the rebels who are in revolt against me. Who are these rebels? The people that are with you right now. The people living among you right now. The people living in your home. You think a rebel is somebody that's just a Christian? Yah has people all over the place. His people are in every type of religion, in every type of situation, every kind of environment, whether they're rich, poor, blind, naked, doesn't matter. They're still his people, and among his people are wicked people. They're a complete revolt against me. Against me how? They have not done what the Torah says. I don't care about you listening to the Torah. I want you to do the Torah. I don't care about whether or not you said, I'm going to keep the festival. I want you to do it. I want you to asa. I don't care about your excuses. I will rid you of the rebels. I was at a congregation one time, and they told me when I brought this point out that there are rebels, they said, there ain't no rebels here. I said, you a lie. I know rebels in here right now. They weren't keeping the Shabbat. They put their business before Yahweh's word. I know there's rebels because they went to go get gas for their cars on Shabbat. I know they're a rebel because instead of preparing their meals on the day before, they said, let's go out to eat after service. That is a rebel. Half the men in there weren't even circumcised and would not wear a beard. Those are rebels. It's not just the men, it's the women too. It's the children too. Everybody who has decided to revolt against what he said is a rebel. I will bring them out from the land where they're living, like I just told you in 39. I'm not leaving anybody of the people of my people nowhere, whether they're a rebel or not, they're still leaving the land. But they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I'm Yahweh and that I'm not playing any games with nobody. With you, the nations, nobody. When I say that I'm Yahweh, then you'll know how merciful I am. Then you'll know that I do not acquit the wicked whatsoever. You will know that if anybody says anything about me that is misrepresenting, I'm going to hold them accountable. If you break my Shabbat, I'm going to hold you to it. If you light a fire, I'm going to hold you to it. If you commit adultery, I'm going to hold you to it. If you covet another man's wife, I'm going to hold you to it. If you have this insatiable desire to be talking to somebody that you had no business talking to, I'm going to hold you responsible. If you cheat a person out of their wages, I'm going to hold you to it. You are not going to do what you want to do in my land no more. It's not going to happen. That's when you're going to know. You're going to know this when I do what I said I'm going to do. You're going to know it when I tell your family members who rebelled against me that they're not entering the land of Israel. Just like your ancestors, when I told them and gave them the verdict that guess what? Everybody who's over the age of 20 is dying out here. You pushed me too far, Israel. And if I did it to them, I'm going to do it to you. There's no difference between the rebel that was in the wilderness and the rebel that's scattered in the nations. They're still the same people, the same type of spirit, the same rebellion, the same sourness, the same stubbornness, the same attitude. Them people will not go into the land of Israel. Oh, Akika, you talk about this with some passion because I'm tired of making excuses for people. They're not going in. That's what he said. So we can continue to play this game and we can continue to make excuses. We can continue to say why I can't do it. You can continue to hold on to your grudges. You can continue to do everything that you want to do because at the end of the day, you're going to be brought out to the wilderness and you're going to be judged. For everything that you thought and imagined, you're going to be judged. Nobody likes this kind of talk. Who do you think you are to tell us? I'm telling you what the living Elohim said. We have to move in a sense of urgency and say that is enough is enough. And if we're going to be in this, then we need to be wholehearted with Yah. You're not special because of how well you dress. You're not special because of how fancy you can dance. You're not special because you can sing or play basketball. You're not special. Not from that perspective. You're special because I put my hand on you. You're special because I have great intentions for you. I have a destiny for you to live. You have a duty and a responsibility to the Elohim who's created all things, and you're going to answer. Like Job did when I told him, answer me when I talk to you. You're going to have to give an answer. And you're not going to be giving an answer to Peter, Paul, James, Luke, John, Timothy, none of them people. None of the anonymous writers of the New Testament. You're not going to stand before them. You're going to stand before the living Elohim. You're going to stand in front of the fire from Yahweh that stand on the mountain with the thunder and the lightning and the dark clouds. You're going to stand before him. And you're going to be shaking in your boots because you're going to wonder, did I do what Yah asked me to do? Or did I waste my time with foolishness and foolish things? Did I put my confidence in the things of this world and in this land that I'm in? Did I trust the other people? Did I put my trust in a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Who did I put my trust in? You think this is a game? You think when you go to the desert, you're going to talk about your accomplishments? You're going to think you're going to talk about your bank account that Yah just totally destroyed? You're going to talk about the car that you drove in? You're going to talk about the food that you ate? What you going to talk about? You're going to have to give an account. You're going to have to give an account for your actions, your manner of life, and your behavior. But as for you, house of Israel, here's what Yahweh, the master of masters, says. Go on serving your idols. Go ahead. Every one of you, go do your thing. But afterwards, I swear that you will listen to me. And you will no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and with your idols. You won't do it. On my holy mountain, the high mountain of Israel, says Yahweh Eloheinu, the whole house of Israel, the whole house of Israel, the whole house of Israel, all of them will serve me in the land. I will accept them there. And there I will require your contributions, your best gifts, and all your consecrated things. I will accept your sweet aroma when you bring out from the peoples, when I bring you out and gather you from all the countries where you were scattered. And through you, I will manifest my holiness, my kadoshness in the sight of all the nations. You will know that I am Yahweh when I bring you into the land of Israel, into the country which I pledged by raising my hand to give to your ancestors. There in the land, you will remember your behavior and all the things you did by which you defiled yourselves, and you will loathe yourselves for all your evils you've committed. I'm going to hold you to it. You will know that I am Yahweh when I have dealt with you in a manner that preserves my reputation. Not according to your evil ways and corrupt actions, house of Israel, says the master Yahweh. Understand this. You and I will not fully understand who he is until he brings us back. Yah is being hard on us because he loves us, not because he's trying to hurt us. He loves Yisrael. He says it in chapter number 18. You think I want the wicked to die? Have I not told him to turn from his wickedness so he can live? It's not Yah, it's us. It's us, you guys. It's not him. Yah's not trying to just pick me and you out of all of our family. That's not true. That's a Christian concept of I'm the elect and he doesn't give a hoot about anybody else except for me. I'm so special. No. Yah says I called, but they didn't answer. I called, but they didn't answer. I called to a people all day long and they would not answer. I reached out my hand in mercy and compassion and they rejected it. I gave them my Torah, but they wouldn't do it. That's all you're going to hear. They would not keep the Torah. That's why we get on the Torah lessons. It's because if you don't get on this cycle and you don't know what's going on, you're going to be left behind. If you're not talking about the Torah and trying to get people to understand that they need to keep it and do it, it's all futile. It's all for nothing. You just wasted your life. That's what it all is about. Why are you here? Why do you exist? Why did he give it to you while you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 40s, your 30s, your 70s, your 80s? Why did he give it to you? Because it's called mercy. That's what it's called. It's called mercy. Okay? And that's why we do what we do. I'm not going to hold class today. I'm not going to hold the Hebrew class today because I want you to celebrate your festival today. I want you to celebrate that with your family. I want you to celebrate it with the ones that you know you can celebrate it with. I want you to spend time with Yah today. I want you to enjoy your Shabbat. I want you to think about what Yah has explained to all of us today. That guess what? For these next 7 days, I need you to be really about being watchful. Be watchful who you are and be watchful. Don't play no games. If you're not with Yah, then just be honest and ask him for forgiveness and say, look, I haven't been 100. I've been playing. I haven't really done what you've asked me to do. I've been making excuses and I've been getting sidetracked. And we all go through it. I get sidetracked too, you guys. I do. It might not seem like it, but I do. I get sidetracked. I get sidetracked with a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, I got issues that I just, you know, you get involved in and you're trying to maneuver your way through it. And that's life. Life is a distraction, you see. But in your distraction, you can't stop lifting your hands to Yah and you can't stop doing the Torah. You cannot stop doing what he's asking you to do. That's your lesson for today. I hope it was beneficial to you. The passion that I have is for you not to be destroyed. So those of you who want to listen. Take the, you know, Dawid said, if I got corrected by a righteous person, it's because he loves me. That's love. If I said something today was harsh and you took it personally, good. Good. Because I love you. Because a righteous person will tell somebody when they're wrong and say, hey, this is what we need to do. And the same thing that I'm saying to you, I'm saying to myself. I'm only here for a season. I'm going to be out of here one day, just like everybody else. But while I'm here, I'm committed to trying to do the right thing. I'm committed to making every effort that I possibly can to show Yah that I'm serious about him and that I'm sincere and that I don't want to, you know, play games. I want to be the one that he can say, you know what, this in particular servant here, I see that he's serious about me. And that's all it is. So I say Shabbat Shalom to you. If anyone has anything to add.
Awesome lesson.
Well, you guys enjoy your festival today. Thank you so much. Toda rabah.
So,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I'll see you guys.